Hello there everyone. Not the type of tone I wanted to start this video in, but this had to be spoken about. If you haven't seen already, we very unfortunately lost Dan Kirby yesterday. Of course, a BTCC team owner with Trade Price Cars, of course, one of his businesses, and also a TCR UK driver, a race winner in TCR UK, and also someone who has been on this YouTube channel. Back in April, I think it was, I interviewed Dan Kirby at the start of this year's TCR UK Championship at Snetterton, and I just wanted to say, yeah, please check that video out. Not for my benefit, but I think for his. I want to keep his memory alive, and I think promoting that interview is my way of doing it. You know, it's I don't want really to promote my stuff in that way, but I just think that's the best way for me to honor him, to honor Dan, who was, you know, in that brief 2-minute chat I had with him at Snet. It was one of the best interviews, I think. Of course, like all my others, it's a great interview. He talks about his time away from TCR and stuff like that. And yeah, just please go check that video out. Rest in peace, Dan Kirby. My thoughts and condolences go to the Kirby family. And yeah, now let's move on to the video. Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elliot Webber and welcome to episode 4 of BTCC What If, the weekly series on my channel where we take certain moments or points within the BTCC world and we see what would happen if they played out differently, or what if a certain scenario had happened if it happened like it almost did in real life. Eerily similar to the topic of this video, because episode 4 of What If is what if Matt Neal went to Volvo for 1999. So let's get straight into this. So what if Matt Neal went to Volvo for the 1999 BTCC season? Well, first of all, we have to see what actually happened in real life. Well, in the winter break in between the 1998 and the start of the 1999 season, there were some rumours that Matt Neal could potentially be driving for Volvo in what would be his first factory drive. Unfortunately, that did not happen, as Volvo decided, of course, keeping the then reigning champion Ricard Rydell, they would sign Gianni Morbidelli as his teammate. Of course, it very well could have been Matt Neal, as it was believed he actually offered Volvo to drive for free to partner Ricard Rydell in the hopes of Matt Neal finally getting that factory drive that many people were probably saying that he probably should have got a long time ago. Of course, Matt Neal in the 90s, in the Super Touring era, was probably the best of the rest, you could say. One of the greatest independent drivers of that time, probably the greatest. Of course, I do think he actually still holds the record for the most independent championships in touring car history, with, I believe it's 6 independent titles he has, which is just unreal, especially when you look at the actual talent that was in the independence class. Of course, go back to the mid-90s, we had Charlie Cox, who was a great driver, of course, more famous for his commentary work and indeed that big crash at Thruxton in 1995. Rob Gravett was an independent for many years. James Kay, before and after he was at Honda. I think Roger Moen as well was one of them. Many drivers from the 90s that were independent drivers who probably should have been racing amongst the factory lot, and Matt Neal was definitely one of them. Of course, now we know as Matt Neal as one of the greats, a 3-time champion, over 60 wins, 2nd on the all-time win list, or 3rd now, I think, because Turkington has overtaken him, I think. So yeah, Matt Neal now is one of the greats of all time, but back in 1998, 1999, he wasn't. He was seen as probably a solid talent, but you know, he didn't have the records. In fact, prior to 1999, he did not have an overall win, because back then the independents were not allowed to compete. Well, they probably were, but it's just they weren't given the factory parts, they weren't given factory tyres even, until 1999, where they sort of would be. Of course, as we know, the start of 1999 would be, of course, Donington Park. That would be Matt Neal's famous maiden victory, Team Dynamics' his maiden victory, maiden overall, I should say, which of course meant Matt Neal managed to steal £250,000 from Alan Gow's pocket, which I'm sure Matt Neal is very proud of. Nowadays, of course, that was in the famous red Nissan Primera, driven by, of course, Matt Neal. And yeah, that's what happened in real life. But what would happen if Matt Neal went to Volvo? Let's find out. Now, similar to the previous 3 videos, we sort of have to take the real life events that happened and sort of put a spin on it with this what if context. So starting off, would Matt Neal be paid by Volvo? No, because I think if we take the narrative that happened, and that is Matt Neal offering to drive for free, I think Volvo would go, okie dokie, fine, we won't pay you, but you can drive for us. And I think Volvo would accept that, because I think they probably would have seen Matt Neal as someone who probably wasn't a top-level driver, of course, and of course later on he would be, but at the time Matt Neal probably wasn't seen as a top-level driver, so going up against the then reigning champion Ricard Rydell, Volvo would probably go, he's not going to challenge Ricard, nah. But so yeah, so performance-wise, how would Matt Neal fare against Ricard Rydell? Well, I think they'd be pretty evenly matched. I think Ricard would actually beat Matt Neal in the overall standings at the end of the year. But I think when it comes to qualifying and in terms of race pace, I do think Matt Neal would have been able to hold his own against Ricard, and something that would probably put a lot of eyes on Matt Neal, not just by the media, by the fans, but also by the teams and manufacturers within the BTCC paddock. Now, of course, Matt Neal, for 1999, this would probably be a one-year thing, as of course, in reality, Volvo and Renault said goodbye to BTCC at the end of 1999. So yeah, this will probably be a one-year thing. Matt Neal would probably know that, and so Matt will probably go, okay, I'll just drive my heart out and try and secure another factory deal for 2000. Of course, there wasn't many factory drives available for 2000, but we'll get into that at the end of this video. So again, performance-wise, Matt Neal would definitely be on par with Ricard Rydell, but I do think at some tracks like Thruxton was a good Ricard Rydell track. You know, the tracks that Ricard Rydell excelled at, I think that's where he would beat Matt Neal. But I think the majority of the time, Matt would often be on par with Ricard, and even in some races, even quicker than Ricard Rydell. Of course, as we know, in 1999, the Volvo, despite winning the previous championship, it was not the fastest car. I do think the fastest car in 1999 was, from watching the DVD of 1999, I do think the Nissan Primera and the Nissan team were the best car. Of course, the iconic championship battle between Laurent Aiello and David Leslie. Rest in peace, David. I think the Nissans would be far too ahead. I think Volvo will probably be on par in performance-wise with the Vauxhalls and the Hondas. So I think it would definitely be a battle for second or for third in the Drivers' Championship between Ricard Rydell, Ivan Muller, Jason Plato, James Thompson and Matt Neal. So a 5-way battle for P3 in the championship. I'd watch that. I'd definitely watch that title battle for third in the championship. But yeah, I do think Matt Neal, whilst, yeah, as I keep mentioning, he would be on par with Ricard, would be able to hold his own against those other drivers, would be able to hold his own against Ivan Muller, who was still making his name, of course, Ivan in 1999. It was only his second season, debuting in 98 with Audi, and then obviously moving to Vauxhall with John Cleland. I think Ivan Muller, of course, his famous maiden win at Brands Hatch with Vauxhall in 1999. I think Ivan would definitely be one of those best drivers. Jason Plato, the now #1, of course, at Renault with Alain Menu moving to Ford for 1999. I think yeah, Matt would he'd have a tough battle, but I'm sure he would be able to fight with all those guys who had experience fighting at the front, fighting in the midfield, where of course Matt was just used to running away in the independent scene. So yeah, now would he get any wins? Well, this is a tough one to predict. I think Matt would. I think Matt would take 1 or 2 wins in that Volvo. I think Rickard Rydell would also take a few wins. So yeah, I definitely think Matt would take his first win in 1999 with the team, and I think as well Rickard Rydell would, but I just don't see Matt or Rickard with that Volvo team in 99. I don't think they'd be a legitimate threat to the championship. Matt Neal, definitely not. I don't think Matt would be able to be a legitimate contender, but definitely maybe a sprint race win and maybe even a feature race win, and that'd be it for Matt Neal, I think. So where would he be in the actual championship standings? Well, I mentioned, of course, Volvo's performance with this lineup, definitely fighting with Vauxhall, fighting with Honda, fighting with Renault, and maybe Ford, but I don't think Ford were actually as dominant as they were in 2000. If they were, let me know, but I don't think they were from memory of watching the old DVDs. Of course, I was not around in 1999, so I can't actually physically say from memory, but yeah, it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough, but I think Matt Neal will definitely be in the top 10 in the championship. I don't think he'd be in the top 10. He'd probably be around 8th or 9th, maybe pushing for 6th or 7th. But yeah, overall, Matt definitely would not be in the championship fight. Maybe wherever he went or would go for 2000. So yeah, anywhere between 6th and 9th is where I'd predict Matt Neal for 1999. And then yeah, of course, what would that mean for 2000? Well, I think with the 2 race wins that I'm predicting and with his impressive performances in Volvo, I think it would definitely attract the very few manufacturers. Of course, I think in 2000 it was Ford, Honda and Vauxhall, the only teams or the only manufacturer teams, with of course the independents in real life being I believe it was Pro Motorsport, which ran some Nissans, and then of course in reality Matt Neal's Team Dynamics. But yeah, where would he go for 2000? Honestly, because I think of Volvo's exit, I think Matt Neal would return to the independents for a year. Which of course, again, in real life, wouldn't be that bad, as Matt Neal did actually take a win in 2000 overall again. So yeah, and then I think, yeah, after 2000, it would play out like real life. He would, of course, miss out 2001, return in 2002 with Egg Sport, Honda for 2003, back to Team Dynamics 2004, 2005, of course, the championship, 2006. 2011, his 3rd title, so on and so forth, before his eventual retirement at the end of 2020. So yeah, that is pretty much it. That is my predictions for what if Matt Neal joined Volvo for 1999. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. What do you think would happen? Would Matt Neal be a championship contender had he gone to Volvo in 2009? Would he drive for free? That is an interesting question. Let me know as well in the comments below. And of course, please like this video, share with your mates as well, because it does help my channel grow. And of course, click that subscribe button, because we are firmly on the road to 200 subscribers. I plan to have 200 subscribers by the end of this year, whether that means the end of the racing season in October or whether that means the end of the actual year in December, who knows. But I would very much like 200 subscribers, at least by the start of 2024. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Rest in peace, Dan Kirby. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.